Hey guys, Matt Geiger here. Just the other day, President Trump announced that he was pulling us out of the Paris Climate Accord, and since then it seems like the entire country has either expressed their delight or their rage. But for those of you out there who want to learn more about what the Paris Climate Agreement's all about, here's a really quick primer. Back in 2015, all the countries of the world got together to figure out a way to contain climate change to 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. What they decided is that they'd allow each country to come up with their own targets based on what each country thought was feasible for itself. That's how there were so many countries that were able to get on board. And in total, this would at least contain the growth of CO2 emissions. So for example, the US agreed to reduce CO2 emissions 17% below 2005 levels by 2020 and 26 to 28% by 2025. The European Union agreed to cut CO2 emissions 20% below 1990 levels by 2020, and then China, because it's still developing, agreed to peak CO2 emissions by 2030 at the latest. Each country is responsible for figuring out how it'll achieve its goals, and there are no penalties or enforcement mechanisms if a country doesn't actually follow through. On top of the goals that were actually set, developed countries agreed to provide funds for developing countries to build up their clean energy infrastructure. So what are we all supposed to make of this? Trump says it's a raw deal, opponents say that he's dooming the earth and giving up our place as a leader in the world. Developed countries have been polluting the earth for decades now. So through that lens, the disparity between the goals that we set for ourselves and those that countries like China and India make a bit more sense. Now, whether you agree with that is really up to you and your own values. My personal opinion is that the Paris Agreement wasn't the solution to global warming, but nobody ever thought it was. It was a good first step to getting all countries on board in some way. I'm not devastated by the fact that we dropped out of the Paris Agreement because I never really viewed it as the savior of our planet in the first place. But at the same time, why would we drop out of an agreement that helps all countries head in the right direction and then has no penalties if we end up falling short as a country? It just doesn't really make sense to me what Trump is doing. But then again, Trump's inability to stop tweeting leaves me scratching my head too, so there's a few questions I have. Thanks for watching.